No doubt, lettuce is a culinary and garden staple. An absolute gift and nutrient powerhouse that it's not often given credit for. And I really do believe that not only are we not growing enough lettuce, we're not maximizing its full potential. Did you see that? The rate of return on a lettuce investment on how much you put in versus how much you get to harvest out is almost unmatched with any other crop. So how do we go and turn this into this? In this video, let's look at the humble lettuce in all its glory from seed right to epic harvest. Oh. Hi, what's going on? What do you need? I gotta do a lettuce video. Hey? I got a lettuce video coming up. Okay, where you go? All varieties of lettuce can be direct seeded. There's no special trick or nuance between one type of lettuce and the next. I almost always never direct seed my lettuce. However, for you seed lovers, here's a quick tutorial on the process. Lettuce seeds can be planted when all dangers of frost are gone and your nighttime lows are above 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 5 degrees Celsius. You don't want to delay seeding too long, however, because if your summer comes fast, you could be in danger of harvesting during the hot weather. Lettuce needs to be planted close to the surface, no deeper than ½ an inch, preferably about ¼ of an inch. Sow the seeds sparingly because most lettuce varieties are going to need a minimum of 6-inch spacing. Lettuce germinates fast, usually within a week or so. Do let it grow for a little bit, let it get at least 2 sets of true leaves before you start thinning. Try to keep the strongest plants and thin to your desired spacing. Keep moist but not saturated and harvest when desired. Because we grow lettuce specifically for its foliage, you can actually harvest lettuce at any time in its life cycle. Be aware, however, that when lettuce gets old or when the weather gets too warm, it'll start to bolt or flower. At that point, the leaves become bitter and you have to start over. Okay, pretty basic stuff. Not unlike carrots, beets, or even spinach. Seed lightly, thin to a specified spacing, and then harvest. But if it's so easy, why then do I insist on growing lettuce from starter plants or plugs? Well, I do it for 3 reasons. First, it's even easier. No thinning required. Spacing is immediate, and everything that makes it to the garden stage likely lives and likely produces. And 2, if you multi-crop your beds like I do, growing the lettuce indoors in a surrogate location allows you more time to grow more crops both before and after the lettuce crop. And the third reason is timing. Lettuce does germinate pretty quickly, but even with a 5 to 7 day sprout time, you'll still have at least 3 to 4 weeks to get the lettuce to this stage. So, like we said, taking up precious bed space for over a month at the seedling stage, but not only that, maybe now you're harvesting at a time of the year when it's either too cold or too hot. Control the timing. Work back from your desired harvest month and then grow from starters. Okay, so you're going to grow your lettuce from either starter plants or plugs. We have 2 ways that we can accomplish this. You can buy some, which is perfectly fine for spring crops in most areas. Or you can make your own. And making your own has 2 distinct advantages. 1, lettuce starts are rarely available at the store for purchase in the fall, when gardening fever has died down and people like you and me are still growing strong. And 2, the selection is extremely limited. 3 to 4 varieties tops. With seeds, the sky's the limit. So let's look at a quick tutorial on how you can make your own lettuce plugs. Using a quality seeding mix, plant your lettuce seeds to that same 1/2 to 1/4 inch depth into either professional seeding trays or similar small pots. Some people go more than one seed per cell to ensure a viable plant, simply thinning them out later. Cover them up and germinate them indoors between 65 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Within a week for sure, the seeds will begin to sprout, and another week after that, true leaves will begin to appear. At this time, you know you've made it and successfully made your own lettuce plugs. Another way to do it is to make your own disposable pots using paper towel rolls or even egg cartons. Cut the rolls to 3 to 4 inch lengths, then cut 4 slits on the bottom, fold the slits in, and voila, a free little disposable plug pot. Perfect. Fill the little pots up to the top with a quality seeding mix and plant the lettuce seeds in the center like you normally would, a half to a quarter inch deep. Again, within a week, the lettuce is going to sprout. Give them as much light as possible and keep them at room temperature. And if you seeded more than one plant per pot, remove all but the best one at this point. Lettuce grows really fast indoors, but you don't want it to get too long, lush, or leggy, or it's going to be impossible to plant outside. Keep it at room temperature, give it as much full spectrum light as possible, and wait for the outside nighttime temperatures to hit at least 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Perfect. Roughly 3 to 4 weeks later, we have created our own lettuce starter plants ready to be planted in the garden. Either in pots or into the garden, lettuce actually transplants quite well. Normally, lettuce grows a singular main taproot, although this does take a bit of time to develop. As such, they grow best in at least a foot of soil depth. Speaking of soil, all lettuce will grow best in a rich, organic, heavy, loose, well-drained substrate. And if you're going into the hot season in your region, lettuce is one of the few crops that's going to tolerate a significant amount of shade. Use that to your advantage and put it in areas that other crops won't grow. Lettuce plugs are planted right up to their existing root collar. No need to go any deeper than that. Indeed, the larger ones may flop over a bit when replanted, but resist the urge to bury them over the crowns. You'll rot the plant. I usually plant my lettuce plugs no-till style, as they're just built for it. Let's take this disaster of a bed and I'll show you worst case scenario just how easy it is. The theory behind no-till or no-dig gardening is that we avoid as much as possible the intentional disruption of the soil profile. Instead of using shovels, hose, and even machinery, we simply leave the soil alone. Just like in nature, the top layers are constantly built up, replaced with more and more organic materials, what we would call a mulch. So to tackle this bed, I simply cut down all the weeds right at the soil level, not pulling them out, and certainly not digging them out. So right off the bat, you can see this is less work, but also less disturbance for that soil means we're not exposing the next cycle of weed seeds to just explode. To further suppress any weeds from coming back or getting established, we lay down a cover or two of recycled brown paper to act as a protective barrier. Easy stuff. And if it's a windy day, like it always seems to be for me, just wet the paper down to keep it in place. Next, I'll lay down a 1-inch layer of premium potting soil to act as a landing pad for my lettuce starts. Because the starts are self-contained in their little biodegradable pots, they'll just sit there right on top of that layer for now. To plant the lettuce up, simply pile more of that potting mix around it until the soil level matches the top of the little pot. Go ahead and place your plugs at your specific spacing. Here, I'm doing 12 inches apart, which seems like a lot, but lettuce grows and fills up the gaps fast, trust me. Backfill with more potting mix until all the plants are fully planted. I know the temptation to water right now is extremely high, but do resist. Water now and it'll wash all the soil away into a slushy mess. Instead, cover that soil with a thick layer of organic mulch, such as straw, grass clippings, or shredded leaves. And then finally, after mulching, give that bed a really good soaking. Nice and slow to allow the soil to absorb as much as possible. Even here you can see I went a bit too fast, causing some runoff. Take your time, the lettuce will appreciate it. Pretty good stuff. Transforming an area that looked like that into a lettuce utopia is stupidly satisfying, and it never gets old. Try to water your lettuce slowly, methodically, and thoroughly, rather than frequent quick waterings. Force that plant to really develop that large taproot, and your lettuce will be far more hardy and able to protect itself on those hot days. Generally, most types of lettuce tend to be moderate feeders. For sure, if you amend your beds with a quality compost, as well as some organic additives such as alfalfa meal, rock dust, or rock phosphate, you can get away without fertilizing. But it also depends on your harvesting methods, which we'll cover in a second. Lettuce is a quick crop, and if you're just growing it up for a single mass harvest, honestly, unless you have really poor soil, you can get away without adding any nutrients. If you're hoping for a continual harvest, well, then quite likely, a couple applications of a balanced organic liquid feed is going to be needed. Feed them once 10 to 14 days after initial planting, and then feed them again every time you harvest. Okay, on to harvesting. With lettuce, like we said, there's actually two ways you can harvest, provided you're growing the romaine and leafy type varieties. You can either harvest the whole plant by cutting it off right at the root collar, which is great if you need a lot of lettuce all at once. An X-Acto knife works best, and after harvest, the lettuce should keep in the fridge if you leave the crown intact for up to 4 days. And the other way to harvest your lettuce is the cut and come again method. And this really exemplifies the benefit of growing your own lettuce. With this method, we only harvest the outside leaves, leaving that inner whorl intact to keep growing, keep producing. Harvest only what you need right then and there, returning again and again every time you want some lettuce. Brilliant. Some lettuce varieties respond to this type of harvesting better than others, so definitely experiment with the type of lettuce you grow as well as the severity of the cut. Lettuce truly is an adaptable plant that's fast growing and really rewards us gardeners with a most immediate bounty. Because we're not growing it for long developing fruit or a root tuber, lettuce can be sown and grown multiple times a year, proving that it really does deserve more attention than we give it. Hey, if you're a lettuce lover like me and you've got even more growing tips to share, make sure to leave a comment down below. Also, if any of you are on Facebook, head on over and join our gardening group called Growing Better. The group has grown phenomenally fast, yet it will never lose its sense of community or its welcoming feel. If you're passionate about growing epic organic fruits, herbs, and veggies for you and your family, the Growing Better group is a great place to hang out, share, learn, and grow. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. If you're getting value in this and the other series that I'm doing on YouTube, hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons if you'd be so kind, and I'll see you in the next video.